All right, we're going to get started, guys. Hope everyone had a good weekend. So 2 things to cover for housekeeping. One, there's an assignment due tonight, and 1 more being assigned today. Heads up about that. Any questions about the assignment that was assigned? Cool. Just an update on grading. Not more of an update, just more of a reminder. We're more than halfway through the semester, and we only have about 3 or 4 assignments left. So if you haven't done any, I would start getting on that because you need to do at least 5, and there's at max 4 left. So you probably want to get started on that. And for attendance, the word of the day is go vote tomorrow. You should all do your civic duty, and if you're registered, you should all go and vote tomorrow and be good citizens of this country. Cool. Any questions about that? Cool. All right, I'm gonna hand it off. Well, before I hand it off to Kelsey, so today we're gonna start getting into visual design, and I know a lot of people that took this class thought that this class would from the start be about visual design and about making things pretty, and we're just going to start getting into that. And we're going to be covering a lot of ground, but hopefully while we're doing this, it makes sense why visual design was in this order and why stuff like UX and interactive stuff that we did and wireframes, why all of that was before this. So hopefully all of it starts making sense now. But we're going to start getting into more visual design stuff starting today. Cool. I'm going to hand it off to Kelsey.
Hey, everyone. Hey. Let me see this. Okay, so as you can see, I'm actually taking over today for Sam. So this is going to be fun. Give me a second. Okay. Yeah, so like Imad said, you guys might have thought this class was going to be more about visual design and actually how apps look and feel. And I'm really glad that we're getting to this point now because we got to go through this whole process, right? We got to see what the problem was. We got to make a thing, and then last week, that light is crazy. You guys got to see if it actually worked and did some user research and testing. So I'm guessing you guys probably had some of your hypotheses debunked a little bit. Maybe you guys experienced some of your users had some confusion. So hopefully you went back in and updated and iterated your screens to reflect those things that your users showed that they needed. Okay, so throughout this class, we've also gone through what is good design. Good design is useful, it's usable, it's delightful. And up until this point, we've really mostly only covered useful and usable. And now we're going to get into this land of delightfulness. And so this is actually, the delightfulness part is going to be more about how the app actually looks and feels and its delightness factor. So again, what makes a design usable? It's simple, it matches a real-world problem, it's clear and obvious and self-explanatory. The user gets confirmation that they're doing things right, and they also get forgiveness when they do things wrong. And it's also well-organized and consistent. And then what makes a design delightful? It's beautiful and genuine, it could be funny or have personality, and the little details matter, and it also just feels right. So, just feels right. Sorry, that's my stupid lame slide of an Italian chef going, Mamma mia, magnifique, okay? And you're also going to see with these designs, with these principles today, you're going to also see and feel what's wrong. So when you see, sometimes I see this out in the wild, I'll be walking past a store sign and it's oh God, it's Comic Sans. And I know you guys we've all told you guys to use Comic Sans, but we're going to get away from that now, starting this week. So like I said, we started with things like this, sketches and wireframes. And now we're going to be starting to put down the visual design framework. So an app like Snapchat, these are 3 different actual features and screens that you would see in Snapchat. And what are things you guys see across these 3 screens that are consistent? Anybody just name it out, feel free. Sorry, what? It's really white? Oh, okay, what else? A lot of icons on the left. Okay, icons on the left. Maybe there's also a list view in each of those screens, right? List, list, list to actually see content. Oh, sorry, what? Oh, hand, yeah, go ahead. The top icon, time,
Yep.
And actually, those are always default on every mobile, and most every mobile app. But yeah, that's a good point. Anything else? I think somebody said this too, but maybe the colors that are actually used throughout this. So today we're going to actually start learning how to polish your designs today. It's not going to get to this point yet. We're going to start with just the actual structure and layout and framework first. All right. So we're going to help you guys figure out the principles that the principles we're going to use are going to help make your app feel and look consistent, just like we saw with Snapchat. But also, it's going to continue, like we've been doing throughout this whole class, is still continue to make it easy to use and understandable. So without further ado, we're going to dive first into layout. So the elements used in layout are going to work together to create visual relationships with each other and create a balance. And so we're going to actually start with a term called hierarchy. Anybody know what hierarchy means? It's cool if you don't. All right. So it's basically just showing and laying out what is the most important things that a user is going to see on the screen visually. So it's just like the arrangement of the different elements to show, okay, the user, like, this is the most important thing you want to see. And you're going to use these different elements, like size and color and shape and some other things, to display its importance. So you're going to see a lot of examples that are like my personal apps that I use a lot. And I'm a Pinterest person. I pin a lot. If you can tell, I got 1,800 pins. But what do you guys notice on this screen first when you see it? Yeah. Your picture. My picture, okay. What else? Yeah. The red circle notification at the bottom. Oh, yeah. Yep, that's good. What else? Yeah. My name, yeah. It's really big and bold, isn't it? Yeah. And there's also those other elements below, like the actual amount of pins, how many followers I have, whom I'm following, and how many likes I have. And I've kind of outlined it here, too. The other thing I think is interesting that Pinterest does is that their main color is like a red color for their branding, but they hardly use color at all in their app because the most important part of their app is the actual pins, going and looking at those first. So when I saw this app, this screen first too, like, okay, I'm here to go look at my pins because I'm like, I have this idea in mind, I want to go do something. I can easily do it right away. I can see this feed. Also, in addition to that red notification, like they're using color to signify, hey, this is an alert. Like, look at this. This is new information. The next thing we're going to get into is size. So you can use size and hierarchy to help show what's more important. So what do you guys notice here first? Also, this is going to be a really interactive class. I'm going to keep going back and forth. So, yeah. Okay. This is a hard example because it's a little light on this screen. But yeah, that's a good point. What else do you see? There's a big, giant photo in the background, right? They could have done just like a typical, okay, let me just put this photo in condensed version, maybe put the text underneath it. But instead, they wanted to give the importance to that larger headline text below it. And obviously, the body copy text, which is underneath it, is smaller because it's a lot more in-depth. And that headline is like, okay, I want you to read me first so you're going to get an understanding of what this is about. The photo also does that. Like this giant, large photo. I know it's about, well, it's not really about Alec Baldwin and that other, Kate McKinnon, right? It's really about Trump and Hillary and having a good old fun time on SNL. So, also one other thing too, in the right-hand corner, see where it says, it has the smaller icons? So those are smaller on purpose. They're aligned on the other side of the screen. Twitter is like a really good, has a really, really good design team, and so they really think about things purposefully. So they put those things in the corner because what they really want you to do is engage with this content. Instead of exit or like share it, they want you to keep going through. So if you see at the bottom it says swipe to begin, I know that's pretty small, but the other text above it is indicating to you, like giving you more information to dive deeper into the app. So again, this is still goes along with the size concept. See how the size of the headline is also big here, and they also have a pretty, that's huge photo, but large enough to be noticeable. Yeah, that's one thing to take note of on this screen, but also all the sizes of these elements, of these groups, are the same. They're all using the same headline size, the same time, like where it says 1 hour, the tag, which is NFL, and the same photo size as well. So the next thing we're going to get into is composition. So going back to the meaning of hierarchy, the actual placement of elements on a page is super important. So deciding what you want to show up for the user to actually see first. And this would be more of like an actual in order of. So an example is Google Maps. Google Maps, they have a search bar. Notice that they have the search bar at the top, and then they have these action bars down at the bottom. So what they've learned is that search is probably one of their most important features in the app. They highlight it, there's a space for it to actually do something right away, versus like showing this screen on the right first. Also the map is obviously huge too. But the screen on the right, they could have started with that. If you already know your address, you can just plug it right in and go. But for me, I never use Google Maps that way. I never know an address. I'm always having to search for where I'm going. And so I'm glad that Google has done it this way. One other funny thing is that it seems they think that my work is Jimmy John's, if you can see that. I just thought that was funny. I wanted to point that out. Okay, so the next principle we're going to dive into is proximity. So proximity is just basically a group of related design elements that are placed together. So any unrelated items should be spaced apart. So you see on the left, all that looks like it's in part of one group. I can't tell where the content starts and where it ends, other than it all looking like it's one group. But really, I wanted to group it out with the circle and the 2 lines consistently as a list. So that's like the quick and dirty basic version of proximity. So this is I decided to look up Donald Trump last night, trying to decide, do I want to vote for him? So what I decided to do was, if you can see this, everything is pushed together. You can't really tell, other than with the color, which I probably should have deleted the color, but you can't tell it these are all different groups of search results, right? So with proximity, you can say, okay, these are the different groups of information, like it's the actual link at the top with the other link below it and then the description underneath that. I want all that to be part of one group because I know I'm going to go to that link specifically, not all these other links below it, like here. Okay. Same with Snapchat. I'm going to go back to this because I know you guys use it, and maybe I sound like really annoying, but I know you guys are snappers. So I'm not. This is why I have three people I haven't actually looked at. I always have these notifications, but it's only like 3 because 3 people literally snap me. So this is, again, going back to the grouping and the pairing for proximity. So notice how each of those items at the top are all grouped together. It says Hannah, then it says, okay, tap to actually see, and she snapped me 49 minutes ago. So all that is put together using spacing. Okay, going back, now we're going to the white space. It's very similar to proximity, but it's worth talking about a little bit more. So I want to emphasize with spacing that you want to give the elements on your page room to breathe. Okay, so that's what this nice lady's doing here. You don't want to feel like, you don't want your user to feel like they're claustrophobic and looking at information that's all tightly knit together and they can't actually read it. Because if that happens, they're going to just give up. They're going to see, it's too straining on their brain, it's too straining for them to actually try and see and interpret this information because it's all squished together. So I kind of want to show the difference between what proximity and white space is because it's really mostly the same thing, but there's a little bit of a difference. So proximity, if you see on the left, it's just a grouping of all those different boxes. The white space is the space actually between those groups. So it's kind of like still pretty similar because you're using white space to determine that something has proximity, but it's all kind of all wrapped up together. So again, going back to the example of the Donald Trump Google results, we're using white space to show the different groups. There's also this thing called margin padding, and for you guys who are CS majors or do some front-end coding, you'll know about this. So, oh, there it goes. So in Sketch, this is a screenshot actually from our coworker Jason. He created this for us to take a look at the different margins that we wanted to have to space out different elements in our app. So you see how it says 16, 16, 16, 16, 16, 16, 16, 16. So it's like all the same, right? We want to keep it, so the next element below it is what it looks like without all the actual spacing lined out. But we want to keep it consistent. So the margin is just the space between other objects. And same with the padding. I'm not really great at explaining that one as much, but that's where you get the gist of it. And I'll show you guys too, I'll be doing a demo of how to show the different margin and spacing in Sketch later on. Okay, the next thing is alignment. So alignment's really crucial to giving your designs a clean appearance and to convey organization. So the one on the left looks pretty nice and neat and organized. The one on the right looks pretty jostled. Maybe it won't bother some of you, but for me, I go back to that Mr. Krabs, like my eyes like flickering a little bit on the right. So in Sketch and in Figma, handy tool in the right-hand corner, and it's an alignment panel, and it's also a distribution panel. So you can space things out evenly between each other, but you can also line them up either on the left, center, or the right, or top and bottom. So knowing where these are in your tools is going to be really helpful. So this is an example of, this is my email. You guys get to see all my personal things today. These are all screenshots. Obviously, I got Petco because I got Pablo, right? I used to live in Boulder, and Quora. I love Quora. It's a great tool. This is supposed to show how actually things are aligned, okay? So here are the different lines. Like, see how on the left it's all aligned the same way. Even the top section, like where it says Petco and it says 614, that's all aligned horizontally. Even the circle where it's indicating that I haven't read that email yet lines up with the arrow at the top. Okay, the grid. So you might have heard of this or not, but this is an example of a grid system that you can use to help organize and lay out your actual designs. And so a grid actually helps establish a set of guidelines for how elements should be positioned within a layout. So here's like an example, like a classic 12-column grid. If you look up that, you'll find tons of resources on it. This is an example of this guy. He made this thing called the Golden Grid. And Sam actually helped me find this today. It's, see how all the elements are equally spaced, but also have the same, are using the same amount of space, like those 4 columns, where it says ggs.html, then ggs.css, like those are all the same width. And here it is, within this website, you can actually, it's actually going to show you where it lives in the grid. So notice how on the bottom, like these two are wider columns, or wider, columns here, but these are using like in elements of 4. So within this 12-column grid, each one is using 3 columns. Okay, so now we're going to go into type. Let's get away from layout for a second. Let's dive into type. So aside from layout improvement, type takes up a majority of your products and your apps. And actually, did you guys know that 95% of the web design is actually typography? So, or involves typography. So I want to kind of show you these, like, this is how it's good, this is how it's bad, and this is how it could be better. So one element of type is this thing called line length. So take a look at this. What do you guys notice? Cool, I'll tell you. All right, so it's really long, right? Like, do you actually want to take the time and go back and forth and read like this? No. So Medium does a really, Medium is like a blog platform / news platform. What they've done is really narrowed down how much space is taken up in for an actual article. So it really focuses the content in the center of the page, and it's really nice and easy to look at. The next thing we're going to get into is font size. So what do you guys notice here? Yeah. Can you read it? Is it legible? No? Is that one a little bit better? Yeah. So you want to try and pick the right font size for your app, and you guys might be tempted just to pick a smaller font size to fit more on the screen. And really, especially for mobile design, take up more space, give it a little bit more breathing room, and more a bigger size, because users are tending to scroll, and it's fine. Like, they will scroll to get more information. So these are some just basic, good starting points for fonts. So like a header, see how it's bolded? Like maybe 26 points is a good size. For a subhead below that, try 18 points. Actually, I meant to say 20 for that. And paragraph size, which is the actual content beneath it, try 16. But these aren't like set in stone. These are just ideas to get you going and get you started. Okay, so line height. So line height is the space between the actual lines of text. So notice on here, this one feels really, really squished. Don't you feel like a little bit like your eyes starting to quiver a little bit? You're like, oh, this is not good. Oh my gosh, I can breathe. I'm like that girl, like, yes, this is wonderful. And so here's some example, or sorry, another good starting point for line height. So you're going to take your font size and multiply it by 1.5. So for example, like the subhead was 20 points. The line height for it should be 30. And a lot of times in Sketch, it's going to do this for you automatically, and you might want to adjust it. So you're allowed to change the character height, is what it's called, I think, in Sketch. But you might need to adjust it. And here's that fun word again, hierarchy. So you can use font size and font weights within your typography to determine hierarchy. So think back to that Twitter example. It used a really big headline and smaller body copy to show which, to help the user see what this article was going to be about. So here's another example. Here's medium. And see, you notice that there's a big giant headline, smaller body text. Here's Snapchat again. Snapchat's actually using different font weights to show new information and old information. So with that's my cousin Hannah up at the top. She is bolded because I haven't actually looked at her Snapchat yet. But I have looked at my sister's, my twin sister. I'm a twin, sorry. I just think that's fun. All right, she is unbolded because I've already looked at her actual snap. So now I'm going to get into a demo of how, let's see, let me see if this is actually working. I'll have to get, I got it. Mirror displays. Yeah. I don't know how to do this part though. Okay. You guys are going to help me, okay? So remember back last week we showed you those really bad examples of what some bad layouts and interactions would be? This is my version of updating that app, and I'm calling it Let's Work Out. It has an E. It's spelled right, because that's the way I decided to call this app. So first off, what do you guys notice? And this is going to be, like, please participate. This is going to be an interactive part. Yes? The text is way too small. Okay. What else? Yep. Good example. What else? Yeah. Yeah, feels a little bit cramped. That title's on the left side. Yes? Some of the text is cut off on the right. Yeah, we probably would like to know what that text says. Yes? So that the header at the top is way too far to the left where all the other stuff, did you say it's cut off? It feels like it's almost cut off, right. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys, just because we haven't done a lot of Sketch demos, but I'm going to go through and hopefully this helps you guys see a little bit more of how to use Sketch. So yeah, let's start off with here, right at the top. So I actually want this to feel like a nav bar. And this is just the name of my app, and it's actually the logo of it. And this is a really beautiful font. Just kidding. It's not that great. So I'd like to center this. So like I said before with the alignment slide, you can use this stuff over here, this right side panel, to actually do some aligning. So I'm going to just hit this. I don't even have to select the artboard to center it in the page. All I have to do is select the text, and I center it. Okay, boom, there it is. Now I'm just going to change this to Arial just because it's like a little distracting. Okay, so what happened? I just aligned this. Why did it go to the left? It's because over here in my other alignment panel for my text, it wasn't centered. So now I got to do this again. So sometimes it happens in Sketch. You have to just do work more than once unless you start it off correctly. Okay, can you guys even read this text that I have selected? No. Okay, it says, hey noob, let's choose your plan. So I'm going to increase this line height. So I selected the text and I'm over here changing up the size. I'm just hitting my up arrow. What do you guys think? Is that a good size? Can you guys actually read it a little bit? Okay. I'm going to center it again. So I'm going to select the text, go over here, I'm going to hit center. All right. I'm actually going to bold this too. So similar to what you guys can do in Google Docs or other docs, you can hit Command B, and I can bold it here. All right. Now let's see. Can't hardly even read this. What's that say? It says starter. I'm actually going to select all of this first, and I'm going to change it to the font that I actually want. So like I said, we're going to be getting out of Comic Sans land, and maybe some of you guys will be really happy about it, which means you're turning into a designer, okay? Which, if you're not, you're still fine. You have time to learn. Okay, so I changed all this to Arial, and I want this text to all be left aligned. So it's still already selected. I'm going to go up here again. I'm going to align it. Cool. Stuff is still coming off the page though, so I'm going to scooch this over. I'm going to select them all again, just drag and hold, and I'm going to hit my Shift key to move 10 pixels at a time. See, I'll move in more. If I didn't have my Shift key, I'd only move 1 pixel at a time. So that's nice for moving large amounts of stuff in faster. So one other person said that all this stuff felt like it was all over the place, didn't feel like it was grouped. So that's the whole proximity stuff, right? So actually, let me back up. You guys still can't even read this, right? So let's bump this size up again. Wow, it's getting a little bit better, more readable, but I would say the line height is pretty weird. So what I'm going to start doing is grouping the actual elements together. So this starter plan, I'm going to move it down closer to this will be 4 weeks of well-balanced workouts to get you fit. Okay. Now this get lean is still pretty close. I'm going to nudge that down using my Shift key and the arrows to get it close to this. All right, cool. I'm going to nudge this down. Use your body weight. Nudge it down to improve your strength and muscle tone over 4 weeks. And then I'm going to move weight training down to build full body strength. Okay, now we're starting to get some groups. Okay, it's starting to get somewhere. Now I still think everything's a little bit too close together for the line height, wouldn't you guys say? Yeah? So I'm going to select all of these because I want them all to be the same line height throughout them. I want them all to have the same style. So I'm going to go over here, and you see this, it says line. I don't know if you can see it. I have it on the right-hand side. I'm going to actually increase this. It's only 18, and our font size is 22 right now. So you don't want to have your line height less than your actual font size, right? So let's bump this up. I'm going to make it 26. Let's do 25 for now. That's probably okay. Now these other text fields, are still a little too close. And they're also, all of this is all looking the same still. So I'm going to make starter, get lean, use your body weight, weight training. I'm going to have those all be bold. I'm also going to do something else. I'm going to make them all caps to make them differentiate even more. So starter. And you can actually do this here. If you select them, instead of retyping them all out, you can go to your type dropdown. Where is it? Geez, I always forget. Text transform, thank you. I'm going to say uppercase. Awesome, they're already done. I don't have to retype them. It's really awesome. So again, it's getting a little close together. There's a lot of nudging involved when you're starting to do layout to make sure you're getting it all right. What else do you guys think would help separate these a little bit better, like these different plans? Yeah. Like a horizontal line. Yeah, a line. That's a good idea. So to make a line, I'm going to hit L because I'm a keyboard shortcut kind of person. Either L or I can go to Insert, Shape, Line. Okay. So I hit the L key. I'm hitting Shift so that it stays straight across while I am creating the line. And now I'm going to duplicate these. So this is that thing we kind of showed you last week a little bit was Command D. So I Command D'd it. I'm going to push it down, take it down here. I'm using the Shift key. And then I'm going to hit Command D again. And I thought it was actually supposed to do it for me again. Never mind. All right, now it's starting to get better. Maybe I'm going to put this also, a line right under, hey noob, let's choose your plan. Actually, oh yeah, that's it. Sorry, I thought you said something. All right, but I don't actually know that I'm supposed to click on these, or tap on these. And I'm going to actually group these too. First, let me group these. So if I hit Command G, grouped. Command G, group. Command G, group. Command G, group. These are all still a little too close. Okay. So yeah, I can't tell that I can actually tap on these to select a plan. So what could I do to learn more information about each of these plans? Like what kind of visual element could I use? Anybody? Maybe like an arrow pointing over there. I'm going to move all these over so I have a little bit more space. And I'm actually going to decrease the size of this because I don't think my arrow is going to fit. So I'm going to make this 20. And I'm just going to make really quick arrows that are not so great looking, but do the job. Okay, there's an arrow. All right, so if I hit Command D after I just copied and placed that, and I use the Alt key. Sorry, I didn't tell you guys that. So Alt, again, is to help you copy something as you select it. So I click this, I hit Shift, and I drag it. It created another one. So if I hit Command D, it's going to create another one below it down here. It's hard to tell because it's a little small. And I did it again, and there it is again. So it basically duplicates how far you actually dragged and pulled when you hit Alt, if you do Command D. And now I'm going to start making these all not as wide as they are, just because I think the text is going a little too far, like it's a little bit too long and taking up too much horizontal space. Okay, so this is starting to get somewhere. This is still Comic Sans. Anything else I could do on this page to make it a little bit better? Yeah? Maybe color. So that's a good point you bring up. We're actually going to get into color next week. So what we're doing here is making a better high fidelity type of wireframe. So up until this point, we just told you guys, okay, you're going to sketch out your idea. All right, throw it into Sketch, see how it goes, put it into a prototype. We didn't really talk about laying it out in a way that is visually appealing. Maybe some of you already started doing that, but yeah. Oh, every other box is, so why would I do that? Do you think that putting gray boxes would make them look more important? Or like, because for this user, for this situation, it's all depending on what you want as user to do. So do you want to go and do, like, are you a starter person, like you don't really work out a lot? This might be a good plan for you. Or if you're a weight training person, you probably have done this before, and you're going to go lift and use dumbbells or whatever people weight lift do. Yeah, so maybe that's like one idea. And that's something with color I think we can get into next week to talk about more about significance and what colors can mean. But that would be my interpretation of that suggestion. What else? Anything else, guys? I think one thing I'm going to do too is not just let this "let's work out" a logo. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, especially in the middle two boxes, I think the text is kind of lengthy, and like, I think it just makes the screen a little cramped.
Yeah, yeah. So do you know maybe how would I fix that?
So like the first and the last box, those are both like one sentence like summaries. Like,
Yeah.
what you're about to click into, so I think it would benefit if they kind of stay to that pattern.
Oh yeah. So that's a good point you bring up. And we'll be talking about that a little bit more next week too, is like how to actually write stuff for your app. But what she's saying is keep the actual amount of lines you're using for each plan that you're picking out the same. So I think that's a good idea. Maybe I could try that. I'm just going to, for the sake of this, I'm just going to cut the line and not actually think about the words. But I like that idea, like where you're going with that. So that makes, yeah, oh yeah, this feels like more breathable now. That's good. Okay. And one last thing, any other suggestions? Yeah. Yeah, they all look like the same exact thing. So in a real world, I would actually have like a cool logo or something there. So maybe I'll just go back to a different, let's see, what's a cool font? Tell me to stop, and then we'll pick it. Comic Sans. Let's do this one. No. Oh, Windings. That's a good one. Maybe we go, let's do this one. Oh, it's so fancy. It's so good. Yeah. It's like, let's work out. It's like that. That's what I feel like when I read it. Okay, so I'm going to make a little bit of a nav bar. And that's that top bar, you guys, like in the Snapchat thing, that blue chat, you guys will see you'll normally see a bar up there. So I'm going to move this below. Actually, I do a janky thing because I don't know how to actually do this. So I'm going to cut this, move this back up, paste it over the top, and call it a day. And I'm going to change the color. I'm going to make this like dark, and I'll make the text white so I can actually read a little bit. But this is what I wanted to actually show you guys before too. When I showed that example that Jason made for our team, goes back to the margin and padding. So I'm going to hit the Alt key. I have my text box selected, and it's living in this dark black box, okay? So I wanted to actually, I'm going to make it so it's like weird. All right, so I want to see what the actual spacing is between the left side, the right side, the top of the box, and the bottom of the box. So to do that, if you just hit the Alt key, it brings up your guidelines and shows you exactly in relation to this box where it is. So it's telling me that I have 50 pixels below of space. I got 133.5 pixels on the right. I got 58.5 on the left, and I've got like 1 at the top. So that doesn't sound pretty equal, does it? I want to make it all equal. So like I said before, you can make it really simple where you select both of these and use your alignment panel on the right. Okay, cool. Now let me see if it actually is aligned. It's 24 on the top, it's 25 on the bottom, it's 99 on the right, it's 100 on the left. So sometimes Sketch will do this with actual text, and you'll have to kind of adjust a little bit, and sometimes it won't be perfect. Like this will still probably say 99 and 100 there. If I made this nav bar 1 pixel higher, so if I made the height 85 instead of 84, and I move this down 1, there's 25 pixels on the top and 25 pixels on the bottom now. Okay, so do you guys have any questions? I know this was like a lot to get through in a short amount of time. But do you guys have any certain questions about what I just did? So everybody gets it and everybody's gonna have perfect, wonderful designs? Yeah? Yeah. So that was the, I already made a pretend one. I was gonna show you before and after. But yeah, thanks for helping with me with that. And let's go back over to, hold on a second. Oh, I know why. I got it. Okay. There we go. This is the fun part. Okay, I don't know where my mouse is, Emod. Could just do this. I really can't do it. Wait. There it is. Okay. Other way. Okay. I got it. I promise we work at tech companies. Okay, so to wrap up, let's just go through the quick principles that we learned. So we went over hierarchy. This is all to achieve different layout elements. So we went over hierarchy, size, space, alignment, and font size and weights. So Sam helped me pick some funny photos to represent this. What do you guys think this one represents? Hierarchy, yeah, this awesome king and having a great old time. What do you think this one represents? Size. Tell me if I sound like I'm really lame. Sorry, I think this is funny. Space. Oh yeah, we're out in space. Toast. I mean, just kidding. Actually, what is this one? Proximity. Oh, this is alignment. Alignment, yeah. And font size and weights. Nice. Okay, so let's go over what the assignment's going to be. So, like I said, we are not getting into color yet and picking different fonts yet. We're going to get into that more in the next couple weeks. So, you guys are going to create a high fidelity wireframe, and you're going to improve the layout using these principles that we talked about today in the lecture, like alignment, size, proximity, font size. We just went over it, and you're going to go back to your previous wireframe assignment and update at least 2 screens using these principles. Or if you didn't do the assignment last week, create new screens from scratch and the actual assignment part. So submit 2 actual screens, still continue to use black and white color, but change your font to Arial instead of Comic Sans and start playing around with font weights and sizes. Bonus, submit before and after pictures. Like it'd be interesting to show, okay, this is what it looked like before I did it, and this is what I did after. So before you get started, make sure you make a duplicate screen of your app design. And submit it as a PDF in Canvas, and it's due next Monday. Any questions? Yeah. Yeah, Sketch or Figma, whatever tool you've been using this whole time. Pick one or the other. Any questions? Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend or week. Go vote tomorrow for Trump. Just kidding. Vote for who you want. I don't care. And not Trump. Yeah. How do you turn this off?
Good job, boss.
Thank you.